Hi, I'm Keeley, psychotherapist and founder of Key for Change. I help individuals to understand, heal, and move on from difficult, intimate relationships. I want to thank all the gentlemen out there who've had taken up issue with me saying, Keeley, you only help women. No, that's not actually true, but often from my own experiences, I've been in private practice for 4 years now. I have found that men tend to be far more reluctant to seek help in services. So I work with everybody, but actually it's women who actually tend to actually come to therapy more. But my door is open to anyone who wants to heal, understand, and move on with their life. Today I'm going to be talking about developing a positive mental attitude. And there's two factors to that, and it's probably the topic of another video. But today what I'm going to talk about is what we do internally. So developing a positive mental attitude is not just about external factors like getting away from the wrong dream killer type folk of people, the sort of persons that when you tell them I'm going to do this or I want to do that, somehow they have a way of just raining on your parade. What I'm talking about today is about what happens internally. So in terms of positive thinking, my encouragement to you is if you find yourself you are negative, if you beat up on yourself a lot and you put yourself down, is firstly, my encouragement to you is, this is one of my little books here, this is things that I write down, is get a notebook, actually. Get a notebook and firstly, jot down the 10 things that you say to yourself, the 10 negative things that you say to yourself. What we're doing here is we're capturing what goes through your mind. So write those 10 things down. You might say to yourself, who do you think you are to be able to do that? I know in my days when I was working at IKEA on the tills, and I used to think about going to university, I used to say to myself, you can't do it, Keeley, you left school with no GCSEs. And that was a dialogue that I had going on in my head. So it was no wonder that some of my dreams I wasn't able to fulfill for a long time because of the way I was thinking. So if you want to develop a positive mental attitude, firstly, write down the negative things that you say to yourself. And once you've got a list, let's cap that at 10. And you might find that your pen keeps writing. If you go beyond 10, just keep going. It's great news. And then once you've got that list, what I want you to do on the opposite side is to write 10 reasons why that is not true. Yeah, because sometimes when we're in our head and we're just talking negatively, we don't actually have the counteraction. We don't have an opposite side to answer back. So what you're going to do now is to write down 10 reasons, 10 things that you can think about to counteract the negative thoughts in your head. So you might want to say, so an example of me when I wanted to leave my job. So I had a job in the prison service and I wanted to leave, and a part of the vocabulary I had in my head self was, Keeley, you won't be able to make a living on your own. You won't be able to do it. And for a long time, I believed that. And it was only when I started to work with my coach that I began to realise it's not true. But because I believed it was true, it shaped my world and it kept me in a job for a long time, kept me stuck to some degree. And I did love my job, but it did keep me stuck. So once you've got the list of negative thoughts that you say to yourself, start to write out a positive set of thoughts. Things that you can say to counteract. Because right now you're being bullied by one part of your head and you're not able to counteract that or to argue your case back. So now you've got 2 lists. And then lastly, what I'd like you to do is to think about one small action that you can take to overcome that. One small action that you can take. When I was threatened with redundancy and I was incredibly scared about what I was going to do, what was going to happen. And I remember seeing a coach and I was told to take one action to help me bring my dream to life, which was to have my own business. And the action I took was to draw my logo. And I drew the logo for the coach, and the coach said, brilliant, that's a brilliant logo, Keeley. And he said, now who can you send that to develop that? I thought, and then I realised I knew somebody. And he's actually my designer, my graphic designer today. That's Daniel Watson of Daniel Watson's Designs. I worked with his wife, Emily, and I went to her, I told her my idea, she sent it to her husband, and the logo, the Key for Change logo that I have to this day, and majority of all my design work is done by Daniel. So that's my 3 tips to you. 1, write out those negative thoughts, get them out of your head. Yeah, and I'm talking write them down on paper. I'm not talking to write it on your phone. Writing them down is really important. Secondly, write counteractions, write arguments back, reasons why you can. And lastly, take an action, 1 small action to override that. I hope you find that helpful. I'm Keeley Taverner, founder of Key for Change. Look after yourself, because if you don't, who will?